The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Not in this chair. It might be a record start time.
I think so.
I really think so.
They're saying we're late, but I see 10:01 on my watch, and that intro is 52 seconds, so we can't be late.
And
Can't
you hit go live at 10.
I did.
Technically.
I think this was the earliest you've ever been to the studio. I saw you.
Oh, I think I probably would agree with that.
I think it has to be.
There's been a few times where you've walked in, and I've been the first one here, though.
You're right. Okay, that's true.
But it has been a
This is the
while.
first time you've been this early to the studio and not here at like 7.
Fair enough. Okay, yes, there's no in between.
Right.
Now, for people who do not know, like I do have another full-time job, so like my day does start at like 7 a.m. at the radio station, and I get as much done as I can so that I'm not a distraction, not getting my other work done. So I get as much stuff from my other job done as I can from 7 until about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I bolt over here more times than not. So it's not as if I'm just out screwing around all the time. It's not like I'm hungover every morning. Every morning. Just most mornings. And then there were 3.
That's right.
We got look at that. 1, 2, and 3. No Casey. Intern Pearl is not here today as well.
Correct.
And so now there's just us 3.
Just us 3.
So close to getting the grip it and rip it graphics out. I mean, if
could.
Elliot just catches a flu, we're gonna have
next
grip
week.
it and rip it.
I don't know what days are you have some other responsibilities next week.
I think
next week I'm out.
Next Thursday I'm missing and you're gone, so who knows?
Chatterbox Bengals.
Yep.
Craig, hope you're free.
Yeah, Craig, we're gonna need a guest call from Craig.
But we welcome you in off the bench here on a Thursday. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here. And, yeah, the Reds. We got to get into the Reds. We're going to talk about the Reds. We're going to talk about Terry Francona here in a bit. But then we're going to talk Bengals. Pro Football Focus put out a weird little wide receiver ranking list. And Jamar Chase, he's a bum, dude. He has some work to do. He has to
somehow, like, not the craziest part of that list.
It's the number 1.
It was, I don't know. I mean,
I need to look at the bottom. I got distracted by the top.
He certainly ranked 10 NFL wide receivers.
I mean, of all the wide receivers in the league,
those were 10 of them.
Yes.
They sure were. Sure were.
But, all right, we got a lot to get into today, so we won't waste any more time.
It's a good day today, by the way. It's a good day.
My bad. Yes. How was your day, Elliot?
Well, I know it's raining, and the weather's not great right now at the second, but it's cold, which I personally love. Give me 60 degrees, 55 degrees in the summer. That's what I want. Sweatshirts all year round. And then tonight, I'm going to see, let's see who can guess this one. I hope there's no copyright. You ready? Bum, 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 boom, 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 boom. You know what that is?
You going to the
I want to see
movies?
that movie so bad.
Do you know what that is?
You going to the movies?
Do you know what that is?
I think so, but I don't want to be wrong.
Take a guess. Take a
guess.
swing. Step up to the plate.
No, I'm gonna.
You're not going to take a guess on that?
I'm Will Benson. I'm on the bench.
I'm not going to let you get away with not taking a guess. Take a guess.
Mission Impossible.
There you got
Okay.
it. You got it.
I thought so, but
You
I have
got
no
it.
confidence. So
Why-
I'm like, if
why-
I get this
yeah,
wrong.
This is like the lowest rated debut for Mission Impossible of all time, right?
Don't say that.
But it makes me very upset because I am a big Mission Impossible guy.
We're not gonna, I'm not worried about critics' score.
I thought you were doing
whatever.
like it's a brick house.
Tom Cruise is hanging backwards off a plane.
That's phenomenal.
These movies aren't made for critics.
There are very few Americans that I would rank higher than Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Just in general.
He's the greatest humanitarian maybe ever.
Yeah, and he'll do pretty much any movie except a Scientology documentary.
That's right.
That's the only thing.
That's right.
That that's the most fascinating part about his life, to be quite honest with you, outside of the fact that he does his own stunts. He was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday.
He was.
So we do not have him on the show today.
Maybe
we didn't get Tommy.
Stick around to find out.
Yeah.
We do have 2 hours to fill. We'll see what happens. Lots of surprises.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think Tom Cruise sounds pretty close to like Ray Romano / James Madison. So if he were to join us, I wouldn't be like too shocked.
Should I pull out? I think he's waiting on the wings. Hold on, let me pull it up. Hey everybody, I'm Tom Cruise.
That's exactly what I was hoping
See my
for.
movie, Mission Impossible 22. I'm off a plane again.
No free ads. No.
No free ads.
By the way, shout out to our guy Casey, and he, he's a little bummed out about being, off the show for a while, but he messaged the other night and said he just needs a Ray Romano, voice to cheer him up, and you did. Elliot delivered.
I've always got the Ray Romano voice in my bag because it's always pizza time.
Yeah, I mean, what a start. What a start. We're on the walk-in, Kenner said today, it feels like a Friday.
It does feel like a Friday.
And this is the start to a Friday show.
So there's that. The only thing he didn't do for the Friday show was the white hat.
That's right.
With an Ohio State logo and a black long sleeve shirt. But, maybe tomorrow, since tomorrow's actually Friday.
We can organize outfits.
So I work for the Horizon League, and I did their conference tournament game last night. And watching Reds baseball, as painful as that can be, I will take Reds baseball over college at this point because the pace of play for college baseball is absolutely atrocious. I mean, it is just horrendous. I texted you guys last night dropping F-bombs in the chat because I was so ticked off. The game started at 7. It was going on 9 o'clock, and we weren't even through the first 2 innings yet. That's not an exaggeration.
That's insane.
There were multiple rain delays. We didn't get out of there until 11:45. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Like, what are we doing? They don't have there's no run rules, which I think a run rule is soft. But selfishly, in those particular situations, I feel like there should be a run rule just so I can get home a little bit earlier. Yeah. But I was not too pleased last night.
College baseball should be 7 innings. It should be 7 innings. Or you go down to 1 out. It takes 1 out to get through a half inning.
Is that worse than the ghost runner?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would drastically change the game.
Every at-bat's a full count and you get 1 out.
Well, and again, I watch so much Reds baseball, and they are they have the perfect makeup for quick games because they have elite pitching or have very good pitching, so they get quick outs, and they have very bad offense. They have very bad offense, so they get out very quickly as well. So a lot of 3-ups and a lot of 3-downs. I mean, just back to back. Not last night. I mean, it was multiple runs every inning, every top and bottom of the inning. It was just ridiculous. I have to do it again tonight and tomorrow night.
So I was paying attention to what was going on at Prasco Park because at our favorite place, Prasco Park, the Big East tournament was happening.
That's right.
Xavier was down, I think, 8-5 in that last inning, and they came all the way back and they won, I think, 11-8. I don't know if it was in extra innings or I think it was in extra innings. They won 11-8 at Prasco Park. It was like 11:30 last night in the rain. It's like these games take forever. They take long. It takes a long time.
When we were out there for the Nux Hall and we were out there till 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
When that second game ended, I thought that was a massive outlier in terms of college baseball doubleheaders. It doesn't
and
seem
it
like
got
it
ugly
is.
because technically, I think Wright State or Cincinnati or was it? It was Xavier that night. Didn't they tie it? And then Wright State hit the walk-off that night. Otherwise, it could have been a very long,
there was controversy at the end of that game, remember?
A lot of controversy.
Xavier slid into third, and the umpire called him out.
That's right.
And they came in for the review.
There could have been a pebble.
There could have been a pebble. There could have been an obstruction.
Been.
But nonetheless, Xavier keeps fighting. Xavier keeps fighting in the Big East tournament. They play, I think, Creighton today at Prasco Park.
Ryan Kalkbrenner.
That's right.
One of my favorite memories doing PA for the conference tournament over at Nischwitz over in Dayton, where Wright State plays. There was a game a few years ago that, again, very much like last night. It was past midnight. There's noise ordinance. They literally freaked out about getting the game done in time because technically at midnight, those lights have to shut off. You can't do the PA. You can't do anything. Now, we still did it. But the team, and I forgot which team it was. I think it was UIC at the time. They hit a walk-off home run. Well, one of the interns that was in charge of playing the music, they did the siren.
Oh, boy.
We this is right next to a military base. You cannot do that. You cannot play. If you imagine living on a military base and it's almost 1 a.m. and all of a sudden you start hearing this siren, you're ready to go. You're jumping out of bed. You're ready to fight. You're ready. Nope, just UIC ending a 6.5-hour baseball game at 1 a.m.
Good for them.
In the Horizon League baseball tournament.
Good for them. A little bit similar, not quite the Horizon League, but the Braves had an extra inning game against the Phillies a couple months ago, and they do a siren and fireworks every time they win a game, and it got stuck on. So downtown Atlanta, it was going for about 20 minutes at about 12:30, 1 a.m. Siren, celebrating Braves win. It would basically be like I'm a Reds fan, echoing through the banks for an hour. at midnight on a weekday.
Couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally couldn't imagine.
So it seems pretty funny. There were a lot of videos from the bars and stuff surrounding the stadium. Like, why isn't this turning off?
Yeah.
I need to admit something. You know the Go Cubs Go song?
Yeah.
Is it wrong of me as a Reds fan that song constantly gets stuck in my head, and I hate the Cubs?
I like it.
Okay.
I like that song.
Okay.
I think it's a
Thank
good
goodness.
song.
I was really afraid when you brought up that Reds song. I'm like, that one drives me nuts. But every time I hear the Go Cubs Go,
It was
they make jokes about that, but I think I did stop that from being played at Great American Ballpark.
What'd you do?
I tweeted it. I kept tweeting at him, and I kept saying it on the show. I said, "Hey, at Reds, please, I'm a Reds fan" is the most embarrassing song that you could possibly play after a loss, and all the Reds do is lose. So that's terrible. The best part about Go Cubs Go is when they infiltrate Great American Ballpark.
That's right.
And sing it in our stadium. That's when I like it, and it's
So-
really special.
My first
This
game-
weekend's gonna stink, man.
Yeah, this week's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about the Reds, but I mean, this is why you don't get excited about a sweep
Yeah, I know.
over the guard. I mean, this I told you. I told you it was going to happen.
I thought of you the whole time. As soon as the final out, hearing Tommy Thraws, and your
And
final
this- and it-
score, I thought of
and
you
it
the
gets,
whole time.
And it gets to be like, oh, Elliot, you're rooting for it. I don't root for the Reds to lose. I'm just going to tell you that they are, and I'm going to be 100% right. Like that's who the Reds are, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they're not very good. They're not a well-run organization.
If you could predict the Reds to win and be right about that as well, you would do it.
Yeah.
But you care most about being right, and you know your only chance of being right is predicting them to lose.
Yeah, no, I saw Trace's tweet, like, I think it was yesterday morning. It's like, listen, I know 1-0 losses are bad, but if we escape with a series win here, everything's going to be good. Here's the thing. They don't win series.
Correct.
They don't win series. They don't win games. All they do is just every once in a while score 35 runs in a game. That's once every week. They'll put up at least 10 runs. And then the rest of the week, it's like, nap time. We're going to bed.
I checked again today. They average 11, or they're 11th in runs per game on the season. And it's
How
just
long?
pretty fascinating.
How long can they stay top half? Because they're not a top half.
They don't beat anyone. They don't beat anybody good. They haven't beaten anybody. They've lost to the last place White Sox, the 14-win White Sox. They've lost to the last place Pirates. They lost to the Nationals. They've lost to the Marlins. They lost to the Cardinals. They don't win games.
They don't.
So I mean, we'll get into it. But
Kumbaya.
Lots of kumbaya today. In fact, we're going to kumbaya it up with Terry Francona. No, he's not going to be here kumbaya it up with us, but we're going to talk about him because I feel like the venom got even thrown his way even more last night. And Charlie Goldsmith is a great friend of ours. He's a great friend of the show.
Great reporter.
Yes.
Great at his job.
And the reason we all know he's a great reporter and great at his job is because Terry Francona is probably not sending him a Christmas card this year.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a fan Francona is of Charlie Goldsmith, but Charlie Goldsmith does a hell of a job, and we're going to talk more about that coming up here shortly. But we put it out on the on Chatterbox Sports on Twitter. Go and check it out. We just put out a poll a little bit ago, earlier this morning. Just Reds fans, how would you grade the job that Terry Francona has done 50-plus games into the season? Simple A, B, C, or D. We'll look at the results coming up here later on in the show. But just keep that in mind. We do have that coming up for you here shortly. We'll recap what happened in this Pirates series. And, a lot of Reds content coming your way. But we'll step away for a few. We do have Elliot's headlines when we return. It's the best part of the show, and we have it coming up next right here. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube and 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, and we are back off the bench. Only three of us here today. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett in the producer chair, and then our guy Elliot Rearing over here, who's sitting all by himself in the 3 black leather seats over here.
Is it lonely over there?
It is a little bit.
I miss you.
I
When
miss
you're over there alone and I'm over
hey,
here.
I miss you too.
It just feels so empty to see
Yeah.
that empty chair next to you.
I will say we got to stop BSing because Vince in the chat says first time on this podcast and 11 minutes of BS before any discussion on the topic stated on the video. He's out of here.
Vince, we do it every day.
Sorry, Vince.
First 12 minutes of the show.
Bye, Vince. Enjoy your day.
So no Christmas cards from him either.
No Christmas cards from Vince.
This year.
Couldn't care
Disappointing.
less.
I mean, shout out to Vince. To each their own.
Hope he comes back.
By the way, has anyone ever, at the risk of more BS here, has anyone ever thought like no one ever sits there?
Correct.
Why have we, because my OCD constantly comes into play here, like you are centered perfectly underneath the Chatterbox Sports logo, so that at least helps me a little bit. But why that chair is not just pushed into that corner and then we just center everything, and then but it doesn't matter because we're all going to be all over the place for the next month.
I think the original complaint was lighting.
Oh,
Because
okay.
remember when Elliot left the one day and I was in that seat and I had to switch seats because the
yes,
lightings
that's
on
right.
the corners were so bad? That was allegedly why, is the lighting is best in the middle. But I don't know that we ever tried and checked that. It was just a hypothesis that we felt like this works.
It's new.
Yeah.
We're only 1 year into this.
That's right.
So, with that being said, before we lose more Vinces, let's go ahead and pretend to be a very serious sports talk show here today on a Thursday. See, the Reds, this is why I'm mad at the Reds. Because I don't blame Vince. Vince isn't mad at us.
I think it might be a little bit.
No, I think he's pissed off. This is the Reds' fault. They have our list. They have our viewers on edge. They're on. He wants to tune in. I don't know why. I want to tune in so I can hear bad things about my team. And then if we do say bad things about the team, then Vince will probably say, "Oh, they're just too negative. You can't win here." But the bottom line is, I don't blame Vince. Everyone's on edge. Everyone's a little upset. The Reds, they stink. But they're off today. They won't lose. But before we get to all of the Reds talk coming up here shortly, let's set up our guy Elliot for Elliot's headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines. Whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Headlines, and we'll start with what Vince wanted to talk about. This is a headlines dedicated to our good friend Vince. The Reds, they lose 3-1. They lose the series to the Pirates. They gave up 5 runs in the series and lost. 5
impressive.
runs in a 3-game series and lost. When the Reds score first, they are 20-5. When the opponent scores first, they are 5-21. They are 0-21 when trailing after 6 innings. They've not won a game when trailing after 6 innings.
But it's not due to not wanting to, just so you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that or not.
They have scored 1 or fewer in 14 games. They've played 50. The Reds have now lost 43 of their last 62 in Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, number one, tough place to play. Number two, Pittsburgh, 62 games against a divisional opponent. What is that, about 3-4 years?
Yeah.
They've been really good over those 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
How many of those 3 or 4 years did they finish last in the division?
All of them?
Yeah.
What's the elevation in Pittsburgh? Is it like Colorado? Tough place to play?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it is.
Which place is tougher to play?
It's a good question. Probably Pittsburgh.
It's too beautiful.
It's too nice.
You get wrapped up in the skyline.
Yeah. Up next, Chicago Cubs Friday 6:40. Hunter Green versus Matthew Boyd. Boyd coming in with a 2.98 ERA. But as we all know, when pitchers play the Reds, their ERA does not matter. It might as well be a 0.0.
But we got a chance.
Nobody's getting a hit.
Hunter games are the only
This
games that are
weekend.
fun to watch.
This weekend?
I said Hunter games are the only games.
Oh, yeah.
that are
I
fun
thought you
to
said
watch.
how many games are going to be fun to watch this weekend. I
Well,
would say
1.
Hunter Green.
Yeah, 5 innings. Yeah.
Major
Maybe
League Baseball
7 innings.
around the league. The Dodgers, they take care of the Diamondbacks 3-1. Angels, they keep winning. 10-5 blowout of the Athletics. Phillies, they look to complete the 4-game sweep against Colorado after another 9-5 win last night. Rockies, one of the few teams the Reds are able to beat, they dropped to 8-41. 8-41. Good luck to them the rest of the way. The Blue Jays, they're hot. 14-0 win over the Padres. They have not allowed a run so far in that series. They go for the sweep this afternoon. The Yankees, they win 4-3 over the Rangers. The Mets, they win 5-1 over the Red Sox. The Royals, they take care of the Giants 8-4. The White Sox who beat the Cincinnati Reds, they fall to the Mariners 6-5 on a Leody Taveras eighth inning home run. The Tigers, they beat the Cardinals 5-1, a little divisional help. Thank you, Tigers. The Orioles end the losing streak with an 8-4 win over the Brewers. Another division opponent loses. Glad the Reds took care of that and took a game up. Nope. The Cubs, they get by the Marlins 2-1, and the Rays, they beat the Astros 8-4. Heading over to the NFL, some sad news last night. The Colts owner, Jim Irsay, passed away at age 65.
Yeah, I think he was probably one of very, very few owners that fans across the league knew other than their fan base hating them.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about owners that have a name outside of just owning a team. It's Jim Irsay and Jerry Jones right now. And, I mean, Robert Kraft is because they won a bunch of games, but Jim Irsay was a name for himself. And I think that's pretty rare when it comes to team ownership, at least for, a guy like that, and it's going to be tough to not have him as a focal point of the NFL.
Yeah. Roof open or closed?
I think the roof's open in eternity now. I mean, the roof in heaven's always open.
The roof in heaven's always open.
Is someone going to tweet for him?
I would hope
roof
so.
open or closed?
I would hope so.
Maybe not from that account, but
I would think from
we'll
the
still
account.
tweet.
I guess it's got to be from the account.
We're going to have to talk about a tweet from that account as well.
The United States men's national team. Bet you didn't think I was going to have this in headlines.
Not at all.
AC Milan and United States attacker Christian Pulisic won't be a part of the team that takes part in the Gold Cup. Sources confirmed to ESPN on Wednesday the reason for his unavailability is that he needs a recovery period after a grueling season in Europe.
But he's our best player, right?
So he's the best player on the national team, the United States national team. But he's had a tough season. He's had a tough go of it playing soccer in Europe.
So the regular season in Europe is more important than playing for Team USA.
Correct.
Understood.
That's what I gathered.
Understood. And I'm supposed to care about soccer.
Correct. National Hockey League. The Stars, they take game one from the Oilers with
What a game.
5-goal third period, 6-3, the final score over the Orioles. Our Dallas Stars. How about that? And finally, we have the NBA. Jacob told me he's got stats. I think I've got what? No, I don't have any stats.
Are you going to steal my stats?
No, I won't steal them.
Okay.
The Pacers, they win 138-135 last night over the Knicks to take game one in overtime. Halliburton, 31 points, 11 assists. Naismith, 30 points last night.
Career
Hit some
high.
Massive shots. Brunson, 43 in a losing effort. I think Karl Anthony Towns had 35. They being the Pacers, trailed 121-112 with less than a minute to go. They get the win.
That's right. And teams that trailed by 9 with 1 minute left were 1,434-0, or leading by 9, I should say.
Oh, boy.
Teams leading by 9 with 1 minute left were 1,434-0 in NBA playoff games. The Pacers made that 1,434-1. In leading with 2 minutes and 50 seconds, teams down by 14 were 0-970.
Yeah.
Now 1-970. So far these playoffs, Tyrese Halliburton has 455 points, 216 assists, 127 rebounds. That's through 25 career playoff games. No other player in the last 60 years has reached those 25 career playoff postseason game marks. It's Magic Johnson is the only other point guard that's reached those marks.
Pretty good. It's a pretty good
obviously
player.
Longer than that ago. Tyrese Halliburton hit his 4th go-ahead game-winning or game-tying field goal in the last 30 seconds of fourth quarter overtime this playoffs alone. That ties Ray Allen for the most all-time.
Ray Allen's a good player.
Since 1997-1998, teams are 4 and 1,640 when trailing by 7 in the final minute of fourth quarter and overtime in the playoffs.
Okay.
The Pacers are 3 of those 4 wins in the 2025 playoffs.
The playoffs, not the history of the NBA, just this season.
This
alone.
season, these
alone.
playoffs.
Not bad.
That's
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Also, the final 2-minute report came out, and the refs missed 4 calls in the final 2 minutes of overtime of that game. 3 against the Pacers, 1 against the Knicks. I'm not acting like it changed the outcome of that game, but that's inexcusable. I mean, you're in the playoffs in a very, very close game. How are you not making those calls. Miles Turner, that was a goaltend on the block, on the layup that the Pacers got a 3 on. That's a 5-point swing.
Ain't no stopping was fouled.
Absolutely, which would have made it a 4-point game going into the last possession, which is a monumental free throw to have to shoot. The ball on Brunson, which thankfully they challenged and reviewed, clearly off Brunson, right in front of the refs. So I don't know what the explanation is or how you fix it, but the refs were terrible last night. Hopefully it gets fixed. But I think we're lined up for a generational Eastern Conference Finals. This is going to be a lot of fun. These teams really don't seem to like each other very much.
Yeah, later in the show, we're going to do the NBA. I think whoever wins the championship this year, it'll be like the 7th straight season where a non-repeat champion over the last 7 years has occurred, which is a lot different than what the NBA is typically known for, which is dynasties, and more dynasties. So we'll talk about that. So I'm like conflicted because I don't like that there's no dynasties, but man, last night, I'll take that every damn season if that's the case. But we'll get into that later.
The thing about New York, man, that's one of the 49 states where it's just basketball.
Yeah.
Is it though?
Yeah, it is. It's just basketball.
Did you get upset when Timothée Chalamet kept appearing on my screen like I did?
It made me happy when he tried to tee Hallie up when he was like waiting for the challenge. That made me very, very happy. I think that, New York as a fan base might never recover. The whole watch party outside of Madison Square Garden, chanting Nixon 4 when they were up with a minute left, the choke. Tyrese Halliburton gambled every bit of everything on that choke celebration not being a 3. They had to win that game. Yeah. Or he was going to be memed into oblivion.
Did you care that he had an easy layup, and then not an easy layup, but he had a high percentage look in the paint. Then he dribbled it back out and then took that fadeaway long 2, foot just barely on the line. Misses it kind of, and then it bounces. The basketball gods. You could not have scripted that any better.
Shout out Ursa.
There was all this talk all day about, hopefully in the series there is an ending that presents itself where Halliburton can, especially at the Garden, do it.
Right.
Game one. And by the way, when Reggie Miller did it, he was mocking Spike Lee. He was not. I think Halliburton was choking the hell out of himself.
His eyes
Did you see his
were
eyes?
popping out.
I don't think he realized that Reggie Miller never truly choked himself. I think Halliburton was strangling his own self. His eyes are about to pop out of his head.
The point, him and Reggie pointing at each other. And it's just.
I don't like that bias, though, by the way.
I love that we get Reggie this series because last year when the Knicks lost to the Pacers in 7 games, we had to hear Doris Burke, Stephen A. Smith, all the ESPN crew. They did a whole 20-minute pregame segment for Game 7 with Spike Lee on ESPN. Pacers won that game by 20. It was insane. So if we can get a little bit of Reggie love, I'm all for it.
Back to headlines.
That's all. That's it.
No.
There was more NBA headlines.
There was more?
Yes. I'll let you have it.
No, I wasn't going NBA, so you can take it.
Well, real quick, that one guy, I don't know if we read this. His story. He has a story about Irsay in the chat. He was out to dinner with his wife at St. Elmo's to celebrate his wife being pregnant with their first child.
Very nice.
Irsay was there, overheard their conversation, and bought their dinner.
Very nice. I've heard a lot of stuff about him buying, for fans and stuff around the city, and he sent Bengals fans to the Super Bowl in the 80s. So very, very nice guy, beloved by the city of Indianapolis.
Yeah.
The other NBA headline was maybe you said.
Oh
it.
yeah. Duh.
Maybe I missed it. I've done that before.
No, you didn't miss it because I have something for it.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has earned his first NBA MVP award.
That's right.
That was announced yesterday as well. Again, and they took a nice little 1-0 lead over Minnesota the other night.
Most shocking part of that, Kentucky's first MVP.
With all the players they have in the league?
That seems crazy.
That is insane.
Yeah, I guess that is pretty wild.
And they're not even recent. Like, obviously, Patino had a ton of success, and Cal over the years was great, but I feel like they've had plenty of time to stack another MVP in there. And SJ being the first one seems pretty crazy. But also, this is why the NBA will never be the NFL. You had your formal announcement planned on ESPN for last night, and Shams leaks it on Twitter 4 hours beforehand. Like, you're going to lose all of the pub and all of the excitement. NFL Awards they've turned that into an event, a can't miss event. And I don't know, the NBA just seems to miss every opportunity they have to capitalize on stuff.
Because the league won last night. That was a hell of a game.
Right.
That's all anyone was talking about. But then it was an afterthought. I mean, I don't blame you. It was an afterthought. I only had it in my notes. That's the only reason I would have remembered to make sure to throw that in there. But yes, it was kind of an afterthought as far as that goes.
I also don't think the NBA gives the most valuable player award to the best player in the league consistently. So
They give it to the player on the best team who hasn't won it recently.
correct.
The NFL's in danger of that.
Like
at
Nikola
times,
Jokic
too.
by far is
He
the
was
most valuable.
31, 12, and 10.
Yeah, I mean Nikola Jokic is the most valuable player in the league. LeBron James is the most valuable player in the league for 15 years. So like it's this award. I mean I don't want to say it means nothing, but it's. I mean
Well, for
they don't
tom-
give it to the best player.
The rundown for tomorrow's show has what is the most impactful individual regular season award out there. And when I thought of this, like, it was not a big deal. I mean, it should be a big deal. But you look at some of the players that have an MVP throughout the last decade in the NBA, some of them you're like, wait, what? How did that? I mean, they're good individual statistical seasons, but it's kind of crazy.
I will say, I know, Elliot, you are in the Deshaun Watson camp. For
I am
worst trade of all time.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We're gonna clip it and stop it right there.
Woo!
Thought you'd
Trade
like
the
that.
teams. Huh?
Woo!
Worst trade of all time.
Okay, yeah.
Deshaun Watson, I think it's SGA. And I don't think it's particularly close. The Clippers traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 2022, 2024, 2026, 2021 first-round picks, 2023 first-round pick lottery protected, 2023 and 2025 first-round picks with the right to swap, SGA and Danilo Gallinari for Paul George. Those picks turned into Jalen Williams, Cason Wallace, and then they traded up for Chet Holmgren.
How many championships has Paul George won since that trade?
He has now made the same amount of Eastern Conference Finals in LA as the Thunder have with SGA as their leader.
Whoops.
Pretty bad.
To be clear, you're not in the Deshaun Watson camp.
That would be correct.
You know, like he's like ahead of schedule, and now everyone's freaking out because like he's throwing. He could be back this year.
There is nothing more than I want than
him to start.
than him to play for the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, no, the Cleveland thinks they could trade him. Team's lining up.
You probably could. You throw in 2 or 3 firsts and eat most of the contract.
I mean, you gave up a lot.
Someone
to
will
get
take him.
Might as well just continue it on. I mean, why not? All right, those were headlines. Did you get everything you needed in? I know he did you get?
Oh,
is that what you-
one last thing
Yeah.
from the NFL in terms of some other news coming out of league meetings this week. Big news regarding the tush push, which we did talk about yesterday. They scrapped the playoff reseeding model, which is really good. At least I think we all agreed on that. The NFL is also adding an award this year, which is very, very fun, something I think is long overdue. We have plenty of metrics now to measure how every position plays in the league, and you can find how good offensive linemen are. The NFL is introducing a new annual award called the Protector of the Year, which will honor the league's top offensive linemen. I think that, we all know how important an offensive line is, especially here in Cincinnati where, Joe Burrow's been running for his life most of his career. And when you finally have some good protectors up front, it can make a world of difference in your season. So the fact that they're going to be able to get, some level of recognition at the end of the season, I think that's one of the best things the NFL can do. They don't have a chance to win MVP. They don't really have a chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Or we would have seen guys like Penei Sewell and Joe Alt finish much higher in those rankings. So now that they actually have a chance to win an award at the end of the year, I think it's a great thing for the NFL. And something else that they talked about potentially doing is going back and retroactively giving this award out over the last 10 to 20 years so that you can look at, full resumes of retired athletes and even guys like Trent Williams, who are now at the back end of their career, who certainly would have won, 5 to 10 of these things.
Yeah.
So you can try to, grade them like that. So I think it's going to be something interesting to watch as we play through the season and through the, future of the NFL. It'll help people recognize offensive linemen, I think, a lot more over the next few years. And that's something the NFL is doing a really good job about.
All right, last thing on this for headlines or whatever, but Craig just posted this on X just a little bit ago. I didn't realize this. So minor league baseball, they tweeted this out on the 20th earlier in the week, that Major League Baseball will begin experimenting with using bat tracking technology to call check swings starting last Tuesday in Single A Florida State League. Again, minor league baseball tweeted this out that Major League Baseball is experimenting with this technology, starting in the minor leagues, of course. But yes, Major League Baseball, again, experimenting with using bat tracking technology to call check swings starting earlier this week.
I like that. I mean, let's automate everything, right?
That's right.
If you can get it right, get it right.
That's right.
And that's always the boat I'm in.
So what Craig was asking, the graphic that they show is the check swing is anything past 45 degrees out. And Craig was questioning where did MLB come up with this 45-degree rule? That's definitely not how the rule is enforced today. So
I guess you have to probably put a hard line in the AI software or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was probably the closest. Yeah, I think all this stuff, I mean, ABS has taken how long now to get to the major leagues. We still don't have it, and we feel like it's been done for a long time. So it takes a lot of trial and error to make this stuff work. So we'll see, what happens, if it ever happns. I mean, it has to go through a lot of levels before it gets to Major League Baseball, so we'll see.
Yep.
Minor leagues, that's what it's for. I think that MLB does a very, very good job testing these rules out in the minor league baseball and seeing what works.
All right, off the bench, Justin.
One more headline.
Oh, there's one more
headline.
Segment that keeps. I mean, it's too bad that our guy checked out. What was his name? Rick or
Vince?
Vince. Yeah, I honestly forgot.
Vince is missing some good stuff.
This is my favorite headline we've ever had.
Ooh.
And I think it's going to be your favorite headline too, Kenner.
Oh, what Angel
And
Reese
I don't
do?
think Elliot's going to care at all.
Oh.
It's college football.
I don't care.
And we're done
just
with
come
conference champion buys. CFB executives are expected to adopt a straight seeding model for this season's college football playoff, doing away with the guaranteed buys for conference champions. Obviously, that vote hasn't happened yet, but that is the expectation according to Ross Dellinger. That is the best thing that college football could do. Last year, instead of Arizona or Boise State, Arizona State getting buys, it would have been Texas and Penn State along with Georgia and Oregon. Duh.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be a no-brainer to have this take place, all throughout college football. And obviously they saw 1 year and said that it's not good. So thank God they're making the change.
That's right.
And then it said they don't know what they're going to do for 2026 and beyond after this season because that's when they're eligible for expansion. But all reports say the SEC and the Big Ten have complete control over automatic qualifiers due to money.
Do you like, and I guess the NFL semi does this too with these, they throw out they're voting on the tush push and all this stuff. College sports drive me nuts, but at the same time, like when they see a problem, they usually get it resolved semi-quick. I mean, you could say that the 14 playoff was a decade-long problem, but ultimately, that was an egregious thing last year. And I think it was one thing just laying out the format, but when you saw the format play out, none of that made any sense. So good for – I don't give them praise too often, but I think that was smart. I think that was a good immediate change to make. But
Let's make sure they change it.
Yeah. Oh, that too.
It's just the expectation.
That's right.
Let's make sure they change it.
Allegedly. So there's that. All right, off the bench, Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here. I guess now that we are, how many minutes into the show? We are almost 40 minutes into the show, and now I feel like we should talk about those Cincinnati Reds. They
You think
did
we
it.
could squeeze something else in there?
What do we got?
I don't know. We probably do have to talk about the Reds.
Yeah. Do you got anything?
No,
different?
I was gonna rank my Mission Impossible movies, but we can do that later.
I'm
number one.
No.
So on my show and Dayton, I always play a bed of music underneath as I'm doing my outro. So I need you to do the Mission Impossible music you were doing earlier as I sign us out and head into segment 3. So 3, 2, 1, boom.
Boom. Boom,
All right,
boom,
this is Off the Bench. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing. The Cincinnati Reds end up doing it. They dropped 2-3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates after they swept the Cleveland Guardians. And guess what they did before that? They dropped 2-3 against the Chicago White Sox. How do they recover ahead of their big series with the Chicago Cubs as Hunter Green does make his return off the IL tomorrow night? We'll discuss it all with you when we come back. More Off the Bench next. So did you lose your breath a little bit towards the end there, and that's why you didn't give me
Well, I thought you were wrapping it up. I mean, that was pretty long.
That was the longest outro you've ever done.
I was just trying to see how many bumps you can go. That's
yeah,
all.
I was bumped.
You were bumped out?
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I kept going.
Fair enough. So you are going to that movie tonight.
That's right. 6:30.
Very nice.
Good
Opening
stuff.
night.
Very nice. You know where I'll be?
Where?
Getting ready for my next 6.5-hour baseball game.
There you go.
Later on tonight. So there's that. But we welcome you back off the bench. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here on a Thursday. About to dive into the Reds. We did put out a poll earlier this morning. Terry Francona, and again, we mentioned earlier, Charlie Goldsmith, friend of the show, comes on regularly. Charlie is doing his job because Charlie seems to be getting under the skin of Terry Francona, and we'll have the clip for you later on in the show. But Terry Francona seems frustrated at this point. That energy that he had, after the announcement of him coming out of retirement, obviously it's the honeymoon stage. I do think we expected the honeymoon stage to last a little bit longer, but I feel like the honeymoon stage ended kind of early. I feel like it
About
almost
ninth inning opening day.
Yes, I mean honestly, we saw the cracks in the foundation on opening day. And we're going to get into Terry more coming up in a moment, but we did put out a poll, 51 games into the season at this point. How would you grade Terry Francona's performance as manager of the Cincinnati Reds? We'll go ahead. We take a look at
Say bye, Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot's going to disappear quickly. Bam. It looks just like a C grade, which I think is semi-fair at this point. I don't think that he's knocked it out of the park by any means. I do not think he's failed either when we talk about the deficiencies in the roster makeup. But we'll get into more of this coming up here in a bit. But overall, that's about what you would expect, right? A C?
Yeah, I mean, I could see him going lower based on the expectations we all
Okay.
had. But yeah, I mean, they have a losing record and they've lost to the MLB, to Major League Baseball's worst team. So I certainly don't give him a high grade for how this season's gone. But I also, it just goes back into the debate we have seemingly every week. It's, how much does the manager matter? And various members of this office believe that matters more than others. And I think that it comes down to the talent you have.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing. The Reds just lost a series to the Pirates. The Pirates, this team just set the modern era record by scoring 4 runs or fewer in 26 consecutive games.
That good?
26 consecutive games, they have not scored more than 4 runs. That's impossible.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do to beat the Pirates. And that's quite literally score more than 4 runs. The Reds were unable to do it. So, they're not a good team. They're not a good team. You can spin it whatever way you want. Tyler Stevenson, I love him. I think he's going to be a good catcher. I think he is a good catcher. He's been woeful. Spencer Steer, woeful. Now, I don't blame Spencer Steer because he's injured and he's fighting through it, but woeful. And you go down the line, it's just nobody's been good enough. And it's not a recipe for success. We can sit here and get excited for series wins, and you should. I mean, you're a sports fan. You love the Cincinnati Reds. And, you have to cheer for something. You're not going to go through an entire 162-game season without cheering. Celebrate the sweep of the Guardians. Be happy about it. But when I talk about the Reds, every single day, it's my perspective is different than the average fan. There's a lot of people that they talk in group chats. All my buddies, they talk in group chats, and it's that's their source of discussing Reds baseball. A couple texts a night. Oh, these Reds are frustrating. They stink. When you have to talk about it for 2 hours every day, I will say, and this has just been my opinion, it becomes not taxing, but it becomes an annoyance almost to have to deal with a team that I know what the end result is. Through 51 games, I know where this team is heading, and it's not the playoffs. And that's the only road that I care about them taking. So for me, it's for watching every night this team not improve and not get better on certain aspects of a game that I think they really should be better at. I throw my hands up in the air and I get frustrated. I've got nothing else to say. The Reds need to be better. They should be better. They have the talent to be better, and they're not. A manager's not fixing the problem. It's not. You can bring in whoever you want. If Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain and Spencer Steer and Tyler Stevenson, if all these guys aren't getting on base, if they're not moving runners over, if they're not scoring runs on a consistent basis, no manager that you bring in is going to make a difference. So people can get mad at Terry Francona. They can be proud of Terry. They can think whatever they want about Terry Francona. Because there is something to Terry where it's all right, we have a guy that we like. I like the way he talks. I like his post-game press conferences. I like that he's a champion, a two-time champion in Major League Baseball. I like all these things about Terry Francona. But deep down, you know, and I know, and everybody in this world should know, that the Cincinnati Reds simply aren't good enough. They did not do enough this past offseason. Their offense was woeful last year. Woeful. Mike Ford was, I believe, supposed to be the savior of the team. He wasn't. Because you can't save something with one guy. The whole team, there's 9 players that have to play in somewhat unison here and have to get hot at the same time, roughly. And they've never been close to it. Kinner came in on Mondays like, they swept the Guardians. Here comes that momentum. Here comes that momentum. I knew there was no momentum. There's no momentum.
Well, why don't you say something?
I said it. I'll let you be happy. I know people get annoyed with me when they say, all you do is complain. Yeah. I complain because what's the constructive advice I can give? I can tell them to spend more money and get players in here that can contribute. But I know they won't do that. That's the only option they have. The other option is hope the homegrown talent works. The homegrown talent, I hate to say it, has not worked. Elly De La Cruz is a superstar, a generational, once-in-a-lifetime player. People are going to talk about Elly De La Cruz in Cincinnati for a very long time. A very long time. They're going to talk about Hunter Green for a very long time. And then they're going to talk about the time that they spent here. And they're going to look back and they're going to say, how many wins did they have? What was their postseason record? How far did they advance in the playoffs?
It's going to be the same conversation we're having about Votto when we're having to talk about, trust me, he was really good. And because when you look back, he's not going to have, none of these guys in Cincinnati are going to have those postseason accolades that the great players on other teams have. And it's frustrating for us because we want people to recognize the players we have the way we recognize the players we have. And if you don't put people around them, they never get to a stage where you can have that.
All right, we're going to pick up and carry on with this. My ADD did get the best of me during that. There's a lot of cop cars with their lights and sirens
outside. I saw
outside.
that in the window. I was trying to stick through it there with the rant, but it's reflecting in my eyes.
You were professional. I wasn't. I got my phone out. I had to record what was happening. So we're going to take a break because, A, we have to, and B, I just want to go look out the window and see what's happening. So I'm not going to make you a bump, and all that stuff. So we'll just be right back. We'll pick up with this Reds conversation when we come back. We have a clip of Terry Francona answering a question from Charlie Goldsmith last night. You could see the frustration starting to build with Terry Francona. We'll discuss more when we come back. All right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here. Reds dropped 2 of 3 against the Chicago White Sox. They had us really giving up at that point. Then they kind of caught our interest a little bit because they did drop 2 of 3 against the White Sox, but they did take game 3, so they had a win there. Then they go to win 3 straight against the Guardians in a sweep at Great American Ballpark, rivalry weekend, right? And then they put 7 runs up and a commanding win over the Pirates in game 1, but they would go on to lose games 2 and 3. So that 5-game win streak, that sweep over the Guardians, all that hard work, all that opportunity to build momentum heading into this Cubs series with the return of Hunter Green, all of that just goes out the window. We're right back to where we started a week ago at this point. In fact, not only are we're not actually where we were a week ago at this point, we're actually a full game back further than where we were a week ago at this point, even after losing 2 or 3 against the White Sox. One of the many problems that this team has outside of their major inconsistencies when it comes to scoring runs, despite what the offensive statistical numbers show you regarding this team on a given night, they struggle to score runs. They're such an inconsistent offensive team. And they're not very clutch either. If they're down in games, what was the stat earlier regarding they have no come from behind wins?
0-21 when trailing in the 6th inning or later.
Not great. And I think it's fair that if we had Terry Francona on, I think we would ask that question. And Charlie Goldsmith, well, he thought it was a fair time to ask that question as well. I want to give a shout out to Joe Daneman again with Fox 19. This was his clip from the press conference last night following that loss against the Pirates. Here is Charlie Goldsmith asking Terry Francona that very question. What is it about this team not being able to score runs late in games and being able to come from behind?
You guys haven't had that late comeback in the final innings yet this season. How would you like to see the team kind of approach, and what can you do to maybe break through in the final innings in general?
There's no magic potion. I'm telling you. I mean, it's just baseball. Those things will happen. That's not a lack of wanting to and things like that. If you think that's the case, I don't know if you know the game. It's just that's part of the game.
Yeah. Here's the issue. 0-21, it's not just part of the game. I mean, you're losing your credibility a little bit there when you're saying, yeah, it's going to happen eventually. You're 0-21 when trailing in the 6th or later. 0-21. It's going to happen when? After 0-40? 0-60? How many losses in the 6th inning or later are we going to have here where they don't fight? Something has to change. That's a great question by Charlie Goldsmith. How do you change your approach when something that very clearly is not working? How do you fix it? And Terry Francona essentially just laughed at him and said, that's baseball, man. It's baseball. You know who gave those kind of responses? David Bell. That was the David Bell response. It's not that we don't want to win. It'll happen. We believe in the guys. And it's the same
it's
type of thing.
the guys in the locker room.
And it happens every night. There's a very, very real issue with the lack of scoring, with the lack of late game production. If they don't score first, they lose. If they don't win the first game of this series, they lose. There's no fight. There's nothing. Everybody knew they were going to lose that rubber match yesterday. Everybody did. Everybody. Because they don't fight. It just feels like they don't fight. I want them to fight. And I don't know what you can do. Terry Francona, again, I'm not blaming Terry Francona here. But if that's the response you're going to give, just know it sounds ludicrous. It's just baseball, man.
Let me ask.
It's just baseball.
So you're not wrong. I'm not even disagreeing with you. I guess when I always put, from a media standpoint, we're obviously siding with Charlie. Not that it has to be siding with anybody, but like, what's an answer he could have given that would have been acceptable? Because I think people just want a head on a stick right now. Like they're just,
correct.
Reds fans are angry. So to semi-defend Terry Francona here, what and pretty much any coach in these situations, when you're losing and things aren't going well, I still don't feel like there's ever, people get mad at every answer that comes out as opposed to what answer that would have appeased you. What could he have said? And maybe you don't have an answer for this, but what could he have said that would have made you feel differently? What is the right answer then?
I think acknowledging that there's a problem would have been the way to go. Yeah, I mean, it's not working. It's not working right now. We're actively looking to fix it. I'm not asking for specific detailed plans here. Just acknowledge that there's a problem. When you're 0-21 when trailing the 6th inning, there's a problem. When you're 16 games below 500 when you don't score first, there's a problem. And the fact that we just said it's baseball, it'll fix itself on its own. It's baseball. We don't have to change anything. It's baseball. You don't know the game. It's baseball. Like it's ludicrous. I love Terry Francona. I like the guy as a human being. We all do. But this is what we're talking about between David Bell and Terry Francona. There's no difference. There hasn't been one difference.
Well, there has been a difference. They're a much worse base running team, and they're hitting for less power.
Correct. Their stealing percentage, I think, is 8% worse than last year.
Terry Francona was going to come in. He was going to hold these guys accountable. We weren't going to lose any more one-run games. And all the fundamentals were going to be cleaned up. So far this season, if you split fundamentals into offense and defense, I'll give you the defense has gotten better. Everything else we were sold on Terry Francona has at the very best stayed the same. They're 5-8 in one-run games. It's the same as they were last year. There just hasn't been the serious improvement we thought we were going to get. And I think a lot of that does fall on the players. Obviously, you expect them to take a step. But how much weight are we putting on these guys to take a step when your additions are a one-year, flyer on Austin Hayes? We need Jose Trevino to hit 300, which he's never done before in his career. And then it looks like we have a good offseason. But if those guys don't live up to career years, even Gavin Lux is having a career year this year, then what are we looking at? Because we all agree that it's hard to necessarily bang on the front office right now when the offseason additions this offseason are the catalysts of how good this team is. And the team's not good, but they're one game below 500, and the reason why they're in that zone is because of the additions this offseason. All of those guys are having career years. No one expected this. So I don't know what the expectation is for this team, and I would love to know what the internal expectation is for this team. You said when you went to the Reds Caravan a few years ago, Kenner Krall said that they were focused on competing for the division.
Yeah, it was last season.
I don't know if that was the expectation going into this year. I would love to know.
With
Maybe
a better
I'm
roster,
wrong.
better manager, better pitching staff.
I think it would be a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So then what are we looking at here? And then who do you blame? Because obviously they're not comfortable blaming the players at all, or David Bell would still be the manager of this team.
Correct.
So I don't know who's at fault here. I guess you can blame the front office. I guess you can blame the manager. At the end of the day, this team's just not very good.
Wonder what, like, the fundamental thing, too, like with errors and some of the mistakes. Like, I mean, if you're a professional baseball player, do you really need Terry Francona to tell you how to field a ball?
Shouldn't.
That's my thing. Like, I'm backtracking because I was one of those, like, the fundamentals matter and that we're going to see improvement with that. Now that we're not, sounds like I'm backtracking. But at the same time, Joe Burrow, does he need Zach Taylor to show him how to throw a football? Like, these guys, like, you're professional football, basketball, baseball players. Like, coaches matter, managers matter to a certain extent based on our debates in recent years. But, like, yeah. I don't know. That, like, at some point, too, the fundamentals do just come down to how do professional baseball
1,000%.
players not know how to field a ground ball consistently, make as many base running errors as they do. Because a lot of times what athletes will do is, well, you didn't play, so you don't know. And it's like, well, you're a professional ball player. You should know. You should know how to field a ground ball. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it too simplistic. But to me, Terry Francona is pretty old. I don't think he's getting down. All right, guys, like it's Little League. All right,
Correct.
So you're going to get down. Your legs are going to be shoulder width apart. You're going to get in an athletic stance. You're going to put the glove down, put the hand over here. That's not what's happening, and it shouldn't have to be that way, and I don't think that it needs to be that way. These guys need to be better. The players themselves need to be better. To Terry's credit, though, he's not going to throw them under the bus, but you're right. A little transparency builds a little trust with the media and the fan base to know we're all in this together.
I wouldn't say Elliot and I were David Bell fans.
Absolutely
We were just
not.
defending him towards the end because we felt like the amount of blame placed on his shoulders wasn't his.
Yep.
And now I feel like the people that are defending Terry Francona for the people that are blaming him, which is crazy. It's not Terry Francona's fault. They're using the same arguments we were using about David Bell last year.
Correct.
If the team can't field and the team doesn't know how to run bases and the team can't hit, who cares who the manager is?
Yep.
So then why did we fire David Bell? It all comes back full circle, right? This roster is not good enough. And we keep trying to rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic. And it's just not going to work. It's not.
They don't win series that they're supposed to win.
Correct.
I can't. They, like, I don't know what the exact number is. They're like 0-38 when you lose the first game of a series.
They also don't win rubber matches, and they don't
come from behind, and they don't beat teams they should beat. The White Sox are horrible.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Pirates are horrible. They just broke the modern record for not scoring more than 4 runs in 26 consecutive games. The Nationals are not good. The Miami Marlins are woeful. I think the Marlins and the White Sox are combined like 40 games under 500. These teams that they're playing aren't good. They went through the easiest stretch of the season, and Jacob and I think we're pretty tentative, saying that they should be like, 5 games over 500 during this stretch. They're not even close.
With that pitching staff, I don't think that was not even unfair of a
The pitching staff
question.
allows
Yeah,
0 runs every
that was
game.
our conservative suggestion.
Yeah.
It was let's be 5 games.
Like
over
this
500.
is what I say. Like, can they sweep the Chicago Cubs this weekend? Sure, they sure can. And we're gonna keep playing this song and dance. Oh, the Reds are back. Oh, they're good. Oh, all you got to do is win this, and all you got to do is win that. They don't stack series wins. They don't know how to do it. They're not a good roster. It's not a good team. They're fine. They're average. They're below average, actually. They're below average. You can't expect them to make the playoffs when you waste series after series. They can win 6 in a row. They can win 12 in a row. And it still doesn't change where this team is going. And where they're going is probably a golf course while everybody else is playing postseason baseball. So I'm not going to blame Terry Francona. But I will say, and this is, I think, the clip we're about to set up here, when I asked Marty what are the differences between Terry Francona's team and David Bell's team, Marty thought that there were a lot of differences. I disagree. And I think in this clip we'll see what he has to say, but, I don't think there's that big of a difference, if any.
So, real quick before that clip, we talked about this poll last segment. Over 300 votes have been casted on this thing so far. How would you grade the job Terry Francona has done 50-plus games into the season? 4.8% have given him a grade of an A. 29% have given Terry Francona a grade of a B. 52% give him a C. 14% give him a D. As far as that goes, which that's kind of how I envision that playing out a bit. Probably not as drastic as what I was even expecting based on social media reaction. The A's I feel like are.
Just being justification for even a B and saying that maybe the roster's really bad and he's dragged them to 500.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can't score. He's above average. Fine. I disagree, but fine. How do those 5% people justify an A?
Yeah, nothing. There's
if they take 2 or 3, if they take one more game from the Pirates and we put this poll out, does this look, how drastic does this look, or how different does this look? Do you think it's more B than C?
Probably.
That's how crazy that Pirates series was. That's how it's derailed the mindset of all of us right now. And I'm not saying we're overreacting or underreacting. I'm just saying that's how bad that Pirates series was, because you had that 5-game win streak. Yeah. You have the Cubs coming up around the corner. You get Hunter Green coming back. If they take yesterday's rubber game and we put this poll out, I think there's a higher percentage of B than C. I think you would flip-flop them, to be quite honest with you, because they would be 500. They would be winning a lot of games right now, momentum heading into the Cubs series. It would be a good spot to be in. They're just not in a good spot. The Pirates, by the way, are the only team in baseball that average less than 3 runs a game. They're the only. Yeah. They are dead last in runs per game. They are the only team in baseball that average under 3 runs per game, and they scored 5 runs in that series, and the Reds still lost it. Like that. These numbers that the Reds continue to pile up are just insane. What series did they put up 14 runs in game 1? It was early in the season. I can't remember what Rangers. 14 runs in game 1, and then they get shut out the next 2 games. They outscored the Rangers in that series by double digit runs, and they still lost the series. Yeah. We keep seeing these types of things because the offense just completely disappears. It's unbelievable.
How many series have we done that? How many series have we outscored the opponent?
Yeah, I'd have to go look.
I would anecdotal stat, most of the losses.
Yeah, I would have to say. I mean, they still have a plus 40 run differential. Yeah. Not that stat means anything. But,
shout out that Pythagorean record we're going to have in a couple months.
It's true. It's true.
Math be mathin' as far as that goes. But so I did get a good kick out of this. We had Marty on Tuesday. Remember, at this point, the Reds had just beat up on the Pirates. Monday, they were coming off the sweep against the Guardians. They had won 5 straight. All momentum was coming back. They had announced that Hunter Green would be back on Friday for the Cubs. So there was a lot more positive vibes amongst the fan base. So Elliott asked Marty Brennaman regarding his thoughts on the hiring of Terry Francona and all this. So then we share the clip, but the vibes have been shot since then. So Marty's just been getting ripped on this clip that's coming up here, fair or not. You asked him the differences between last year's team, or David Bell run team, and this Terry Francona team. He said it's night and day different, but he also gave his thoughts on the significance of the Cincinnati Reds hiring Terry Francona. Here's a clip from Marty Brennaman, who joined us earlier this week.
In all the years that the Castellini family has owned this ball club, that's the single biggest move that they have ever made, and that was to name him manager of the Reds. Now, having said that, what worries me a little bit, and I'm not seeing it as much as I thought I would be, he was pumped up because of his reputation so much that I think there are fans who erroneously expect him to be a miracle worker. And as we all know, great managers' careers start with having great players, and players who can win. And so I think he will make a major difference in the years that he's here. I know he's thoroughly enjoying his job, and he loves this bunch of players that he has around him. And I think it was just the right move, one that I don't think anybody expected to happen, but it did. And thank God he's managing the Cincinnati Reds.
Thank God he's managing the Cincinnati Reds. I definitely do not disagree with the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman. I have not changed my view on Terry Francona being the manager of this team. It's a 162-game season. We're 51 games in. This roster was never constructed to win a World Series to begin with. Good enough talent to be able to contend for the playoffs, obviously, and that's what we wanted as fans. I mean, where are we at with this Terry Francona reaction? You hear that clip, and it's like people jumped on Marty for that. They jumped on the clip from the show. Man, this managers don't matter, but man, all we talk about is managers. It seems the fan base does when it comes to this team.
I don't think he's lying. I think I think it's one of the bigger moves the Cincinnati Reds have made in 30 years.
Yeah.
And that says a lot more about where the organization is than how good Terry Francona is. I love Terry. I love Terry Francona. I love him. He's a great person. We were lucky enough to meet him this year. He seems like a guy you want to just hang out with. The point is, if you do not build around him, he cannot win. It's impossible. So when we talk about the differences being night and day, I don't know if I agree. Because the same terrible offense that was here last year is still here. The same promise and same elite starting pitching we had last year, still here. The only difference, really, the same bad defense, still here. The base running mistakes, still here. Nothing's the same bad record, still here. Nothing's really changed. Maybe it changes in the atmosphere of the clubhouse. I don't know about that. Hand up. I don't know what goes on in the clubhouse. Don't know how the guys react. I don't know how many of them like David Bell based on what I heard last year from Jonathan India and a few of the other guys. Clearly, David Bell might have not been the most favorite person in the entire world. That's clearly a difference. But what does good vibes in the clubhouse give us? Does it give us wins? I haven't seen them. They lose to Major League Baseball's worst teams consistently. They don't win back-to-back series ever. You know? And I'm trying to believe in what Terry Francona can bring to this team. I'm trying to believe in that championship level mentality that he's had in the past. But it all comes back down to, who do we have hitting third and fourth and fifth and sixth in this lineup? Are they able to put a ball in play? Craig just said CES is looking to make a comeback. I would love CES to be good. I would love it. But have we seen it recently?
We've seen it never.
Tyler Stevenson, this whole core hasn't been good enough. Outside of Ellie, who I think is great. They haven't been good enough. And you can't expect a manager to come in and wave a magic wand and fix it all. So I love the hire. I love that the Reds went out and did something that, as Marty said, nobody expected. I didn't expect it. I wrote off that manager decision the second they fired David Bell. I thought Skip Schumacher was coming to town. We're excited about Terry Francona. We're excited about the young group of guys we have. Nick Kirby, Craig, Trace, Chatterbox Reds. They've been at the forefront of praising and championing these young players. This is going to be the next great era of Reds baseball. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're trying to be patient. And everybody who says, oh, it's only the first 10 games, it's only the first 20 games, 30 games, it's just baseball. What do you know about the game of baseball? I don't know. I don't know what I know. But I know when the Reds don't make the playoffs year after year, when their best record, their best win total, and I think what did Reed say? And since in 12 years is 84 wins.
That's right.
You're not giving yourself a chance. The teams haven't been good enough.
And the window's big enough that it's not the same team.
Correct.
Right? There's something deeper than the players on the roster that's causing this issue, and I think it's because you keep putting the same type of players on the roster.
And it's the same thing over and over again. I love, like, Nick Kral's done an admirable job at bringing a bunch of players that we can all wear their jerseys and cheer for them and think that, in the future they're going to be great. He needs to get players for the now. We need, at some point, this has to turn into we're playing for the present. We're not playing for 2029. We're not playing for 2036. This rebuild should be over. It should be over. This division sucks. It's a bad division. The St. Louis Cardinals have nothing. The Milwaukee Brewers, respectfully, have nothing. They've got a couple good players. The Chicago Cubs are really, really good, so credit to the Chicago Cubs. And then you have the Pittsburgh Pirates, who, with all due respect, probably should have been relegated out of Major League Baseball into like Double-A. So that's what this division is. And the fact that the Reds, it seems like they're not competitive in it. They don't beat the Brewers ever. You talk about changes and differences. Still can't beat the Milwaukee Brewers. 43 of their last 62 in Pittsburgh. You just lost a series to them. They haven't scored more than 4 runs in a month. Nothing's changing. I don't know what the answer is. I don't have the answer. I'm a 26-year-old moron. But certainly somebody else has to have these answers. And there has to be reasons. I don't know if it's all money. I don't know what the deal is. But you can't look at the past 30 years and say the Reds have done enough, that the Reds are a good organization. You cannot look at them and say that. So we'll see what the Reds do moving forward. You have about 3 more years of Terry Francona and probably about 3 more years of Elly De La Cruz. You better win something.
Speaking of moving forward and focusing on the now, your favorite thing, Elliot, top 50 prospects.
Here we go.
We have top 50 prospects coming up. 4 of them, Chase Burns, Alfredo Duno, Rhett Lauder, and Chase Petty, who I think we're all very, very excited about here in Cincinnati. Elliot, good for the young core, right? Getting younger, getting more core.
Yeah. Chase Petty looks great. The prospect rankings are great. I'm happy for the Reds. They got great talent coming up. That's all swell. Let's worry about the Major League roster. Maybe they can win a few games.
Maybe you can turn some of those 4 top 50 prospects into someone on that Major League roster.
Maybe wins. Maybe we can get some wins. Evan Maurer says the all-or-nothing approach is not going to work. Evan, what has worked? What's been the working metric? Has it worked with Elly De La Cruz and Matt McClain? Has it worked?
I'd rather go all in and fail than sit at 80 and 82 for the rest of my life.
I'm just looking for the method that works, man. If you think the prospect game is working right now, you haven't been watching. Maybe it will in the future, but clearly right now it's not working. So the fact that we're going to continue to ride this same thing for year and year and year and year and year out, I think it's crazy. I think it's ludicrous. I'm not saying they have to be the Yankees. Nobody's saying that. But to not throw your hat in rings here and not bring something to an offense that everybody knew was bad is crazy. Again, I'm happy that the prospects are great. I'm very, very happy. But eventually you got to let go of the prospects, and we just got to get players that can play baseball. And they're not playing good baseball right now. So who knows?
All right, this is Off the Bench. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing with you here on a Thursday. We'll put a bow on the Reds talk on the other side of this. We'll switch over to the NFL. Pro Football Focus released a top 10 wide receiver list that has a lot of Bengals fans fuming a little bit. So we'll get to that coming up next part of the show. More Off the Bench when we return. All right, we're about to wrap it up with the Reds here. Again, the Reds are off today, luckily. I'm just mad because I was really looking forward to that Cubs series tomorrow. Starting tomorrow. And I still kind of am, but it takes a major step back, right? It doesn't carry the weight that it did. If they take 2 or 3 from the Pirates, it's a completely different vibe heading into tomorrow.
I know I'm negative. I know I come on here and I have a negative attitude with the Reds. I get it. You don't have to be like me. Be positive.
Have fun.
Have fun when you watch them. There's superstars on this team. You might as well enjoy it. I know I do the wrong thing and I'm negative and I do this to myself. But be excited for the Cubs. Be excited for them. Watch your favorite team at home. Go to the games. Support them. Cheer them on. Be excited. For me personally, it's beaten me down. So it's difficult for me to go to the ballpark anymore and be like, you know what? I'm excited to watch Reds baseball. I go to the ballpark because I'm there with my friends,
right,
because of the atmosphere. I love watching this sport. I love being in an atmosphere like that. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing like that. And for me to get to experience that and have it so only 20 minutes away from my house, it's something really cool, and not everybody gets that. So go to the games. Enjoy them. And listen to the positive side. Go to Chatterbox Reds and listen to the positive side. I know I'm the negative one. But it's just how I fan, man. It's just where I am. All I want, more than anything in the world, nothing pisses me off more than when people on Twitter go, "Oh, Elliot, you're too negative. You're not a Reds fan. You want them to lose." I want them to win, and I get upset when they don't. And I lash out. That's what I do, and I'm very sorry about it. But God, all I want them to do is win baseball games, get to the playoffs.
I will say, we know they don't often get swept, and we know they don't win rubber matches. So go watch Hunter Green pitch on Friday or watch Andrew Abbott pitch on Saturday, and they'll probably win one of those games. And you can steal a little bit of fun at GABP.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to when you watch the Reds, take all the narratives out of it and just try to lock in for 9 innings. Just lock in for those 9. And whatever happens, happens. Don't think about the outside metrics. Don't think about anything else. Just you got 9 innings to cheer for your boys. That's what it's about.
All right, the Reds with that loss yesterday, 25-26, third in the NL Central, 4.5 games back in the wild card. 25-26 the record. The Cardinals 27-23, and then the Cubs at 30-20, 10 games above 500. As we sit here right now at the tail end of May, heading into this weekend. Again, the Reds have this series with the Cubs. They have another series with the Cubs next week as well. So we're going to see a lot of the Cubs, a lot of the Brewers, and then we enter June, and June could be a bloodbath. It could. I mean, the season, you've already deemed it over, but it officially, in the ground, dirt on top, buried, tombstone, already, given that, everyone's already attended the funeral, June could be it for this Reds team.
You can't. I just went on a positive rant. I'm going to end it on the positive rant.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm going to end it on the positive rant.
All right, let's do it.
Yes, do I think the season's over? Yeah. But there's other things. There's other reasons to watch baseball. So be excited. Go down, get a hot dog.
The next time the Reds play a team below 500 is the first week of July.
And by the way, that doesn't matter. We've proven that just.
Well, I'm just saying, if you think that there's a stretch in there where it might get light, it doesn't.
Maybe they play up to their opponent. Maybe they play elevated baseball.
Maybe
sweep the Cubs this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to call that again. We'll see what happens.
Call it.
It's not Friday.
Okay.
Feels like a Friday. That's a Friday show thing. We'll see what happens.
We got to find a way to bet on them tonight, because there's money to be made in the Reds losing off days. We got to find
to be an injury news,
right?
Which could happen.
Usually, I feel like happens. So we'll see.
You were a little upset with the Pro Football Focus ranking. So I'll throw it. I'll lob it up to you. But yeah. By the way, we're entering list season.
We are.
I remember when I started on the show, I told Trace I was really, really excited. But I mean, talk about baptism in fire. I mean, it was non-content season when we started the new wrinkle of the show, and you could always tell when content's winding down, when lists start coming out. And the purpose of lists is for what we're about to do. And my favorite thing about lists is when lists come out, these lists are pointless, these lists are stupid, no one cares about these lists. People care about these lists.
Oh, yeah.
Lists trigger people, and Jacob got triggered.
I was very upset. Very upset. Trevor Sikkema, who I usually really like. I think he puts out great content for PFF. He ranked the top 10 wide receivers in the league. And I don't think he even got the 10 right receivers, much less remotely close to an acceptable order. I mean, Jamar Chase at 3 is laughable, but I wasn't going to go there first because I know that could be construed as biased. But Puka Nacua at 5? I love him to death. I think he's one of the best young receivers in football. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Nico Collins all the way down at 7 after what he's done in that Texans offense? I can't wrap my head around Mike Evans at 9 at this point in his career. Mind-blowing list, in my opinion. I don't know about what you guys think, but it was about as bad as I've seen in a long time in one of these lists.
Rankings are funny because it is based this was based on nothing. I mean, they made this list based on I think I have an AJ Brown jersey in my closet. He's one. That's how this was. Nobody in their right mind thinks AJ Brown's the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. Nobody's ever mentioned him in that discussion. Nobody will ever mention him.
And I think that was my main takeaway was, is he in that discussion?
No.
I didn't think so either.
No. There's nobody that puts him in that discussion. He's a very good wide receiver. But, I mean, come on. Justin Jefferson, I mean, I think Jamar Chase, to be quite honest, has passed him. But if you want to still put Justin Jefferson at 1, 100% you still have that ability. I think there's a decent amount of wide receivers. Puka Nacua, with all due respect, probably not top 15, not top 20 on my list.
That's right about where I have him, is top 15-ish.
I don't know where. I mean, I don't know where that's coming from. And how much do you factor in talent and then availability? How much is a wide receiver not really missing games? Because I feel like Puka's had to deal with that a decent amount already in his career. So
yeah,
who knows? I mean, if you're going straight on just random stuff, then yeah, that's a fine list. But if you're going based on talent, then that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I agree. And
do you think Bengals players like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, how much are the Bengals players specifically knocked down a few pegs just because they play here?
Pretty significantly.
Jamar Chase, I don't really hear that he's the number 1 wide receiver outside of Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, no, I would certainly agree with that.
And we still have that Joe Burrow. We all think Joe Burrow is a damn good top 3 quarterback.
The last 2 years not making the playoffs has been pretty detrimental for the national, I think, opinion of the Bengals superstars. I pulled it up now just because I thought it would be interesting to look at. Since Jamar Chase entered the league, obviously A.J. Brown has 2 more years than Jamar. Jamar has 395 catches to A.J. Brown's 324, 5,000.
How many more?
395 grabs to A.J. Brown's 324.
I mean, come
so
on.
70 more catches, 5,425 receiving yards to A.J. Brown's 4,900, 46 receiving touchdowns to A.J. Brown's 30, 55 rushing yards to A.J. Brown's 10. And I know it doesn't matter, but it kind of puts everything in a good perspective. Since Jamar Chase entered the league, he has 818 fantasy points. A.J. Brown has 660. So it's not particularly close.
Yeah.
Also 4-2 in Pro Bowls.
I mean, it's ludicrous. It's just flat out ludicrous.
And I know we're going to jump on the Jamar question here right off the rip because we think he should be number 1. They have him all the way down at number 3. I think my second biggest gripe with this list is CeeDee Lamb at 6.
Yeah, that's the one thing that popped out to me more than anything was that one.
Yeah, comfortably.
How many of these names would you take T over?
3 or 5.
And I'm not saying T should be top 10, but there are names on here that I would take T Higgins over, and
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even argue T being in the top 10. And that's not a shot at T. I'm just saying that's some of the questionable names that are on that list.
I think T falls close to that question that Elliot just asked about Puka. Top 15, maybe top 20 if you start, betting on the future and youth of some specific guys. I would comfortably take T Higgins at this point in their career over 10, 9, and 8. I think I would take him over Puka Nacua as well.
I definitely would take him over Puka Nacua.
So that's 3, and one of them's in your top 5. Yeah, I think this list is pretty mind-blowing for a company that I think usually does decent stuff in PFF. This screams clickbait to me. Screams clickbait.
Yeah, the A.J. Brown thing, they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you lean into that. That should have nothing to do with it. This is your top 10 wide receivers. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of receivers on this list where their team's not coming close to winning a Super Bowl, so that shouldn't carry a lot of weight there. But, I mean, you saw him in the final game of the season, so there's just that little recency bias there. Who knows? A.J. Brown's a fine wide receiver. I will give him this.
Fine wide
He's
receiver.
not number one. He should not be number one.
I don't think he's top 5.
He's a top 10 wide receiver, no doubt. What I will give him is the numbers that he puts up with Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball and with Jalen Hurts, who I'm a bigger fan of his than you.
Right.
But that is a run. That's a run first offense that he still put up over 1,000 receiving yards last year, even with all the drama within the offense. Still doesn't account for putting him at number one.
He's also the best single coverage go ball receiver in the league. Like I'm not sitting here acting like AJ Brown's some scrub, but he's the best single coverage go ball receiver in the league. He doesn't really do a whole lot else at an elite level.
No.
So I'm going to take the guy that, lines up in the slot and moves to the outside and gets 100 catches a year. That's CeeDee Lamb. That's Amon-Ra. That's Jamar. That's, a bunch of these guys that I would pretty comfortably. Justin Jefferson, obviously, I would comfortably take over A.J. Brown. And if we're just going pure projection or pure production and no projection, how is Cooper Kupp not in this list?
Yeah.
After the last few years.
Well, I don't know if you go on production, I don't know how A.J. Brown's in this list, to be quite honest. I mean, touchdown, A.J. Brown ranks behind Devontae Smith last year, 21st. In yards, he's 17th. In targets, he's 43. And receptions, he's 35.
Yeah. That's bizarre.
In 2024.
And the most as far now, you mentioned the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. That's like the low-hanging fruit one that everyone leans to. I agree with Elliot. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think obviously in this part of the country, we're going to lean towards Jamar Chase. I am consistent on this stuff. This is not me taking the opposite side just to take the opposite side. You're not going to lose. Oh, damn, I'm stuck with Jamar Chase. Jamar, it's literally 1A and 1A.A. I don't – it's not even 1A and 1B.
Right.
I give preference to Justin Jefferson only because of so many different quarterbacks throwing him the football.
And that's fair.
But that's it. But it's not – oh, man, he's more talented. I don't know. I think they are pretty damn equal as far as the explosiveness, as far as their ability to beat the defender down the field. You talked about, Jamar, you can utilize. I don't even think they've totally utilized Jamar to the most of what they potentially could. I think
the thing that's going to allow that to open up is something that we've gotten some positive reports about from camp so far is how Jermaine Burton's been handling himself. Apparently he's been in the facility every day. He's been showing up to practice, doing all the
what if he just
basic
breaks out?
Stuff.
Have you guys talked about that, I think. But
Jacob believes in it.
I don't know that he's ever going to be the guy that some of us dreamed he was going to be last year, but I think he can be an important part to this team. And I think it opens up a lot of stuff for this Bengals offense, and see good reports about him so far. We drafted a guy with great talent, and we knew it was going to be an uphill battle to get him on the field. We just got to get him on the field. So hopefully we're a step or two closer to that direction. If you have a dominant wide receiver 3 there, or even just a serviceable wide receiver 3, it opens up what you can do with Jamar Chase so much more. So that would be incredible. I see some people in the chat right now saying, we have plenty of wide receivers. Why are we worried about wide receivers? We don't. Actually,
I was going to say
wide receiver is maybe one of our biggest needs on this roster. Looking at it right now, because I don't believe in Andre Yoshivas to be anything more than a wide receiver 4 at an elite level. I think he can be a fine wide receiver.
That's a red zone guy,
Yeah, he's great out of structure, and he's great in the red zone. He's great at 50-50 balls, and there's certainly a role for that on the team. I just don't think I have a ton of faith in that being the wide receiver 3. He has almost zero slot flexibility, so that's not exactly what I want. I want a guy more like, a Tyler Boyd or even a T. Higgins on the outside, and you play Jamar Chase in the slot a little bit more often. So I think there's a lot of stuff that changes if Jermaine Burton can break out a little bit, and a lot of that would benefit Jamar Chase certainly and get him higher on this list.
This is segment 5, right? In my head, I am convinced it's 6, but
I have no idea.
The timing says it's 6 too, but I believe you.
It's 6.
All right,
I think it has to be 6.
We'll wrap it up when we come back. More off the bench next. right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing. We were taking a look at that Pro Football Focus top 10 wide receiver list. A.J. Brown, number 1 is the biggest thing. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at 2 and 3. It's a coin flip for those two. Those two should be 1 and 2, whatever order you want. We know Jamar in this area probably going to be number 1. And they're 1A, 1A.A, as we joked about earlier. But the Jermaine Burton thing is fascinating. I have seen a lot of content of him, and it seems like he's more locked in. A lot of people, including me, counted him out after last year, just saying, well, they wasted a pick. He's done. My biggest complaint with people is when the draft gets here, the draft is not just for this upcoming season. It's for big picture. It's for the future. If you're fortunate to draft somebody that can help you this upcoming season and be a long-term answer to different positions, and great. He was not a solution last year. In fact, he added to the list of problems last year, no doubt about it. But man, oh man, imagine the pressure he takes off that front office if he ends up being a legitimate number 3 option for them. And you would have to think that, although I know the front office doesn't have a lot of trust from its fans with all the decisions that they make, you would have to think that one reason they didn't attack wide receiver at all in free agency, even on the cheap end, or even in the draft, is probably because they might feel like they have something with Jermaine Burton. Like they might feel like they have put that train back on the tracks to at least give it a shot again. I feel like from the behind-the-scenes stuff, the Bengals might be comfortable with Jermaine Burton as far as that's concerned.
I hope that's what it means, or they're comfortable gambling on him for one more year. There's a big difference between cutting a rookie on the second year of his contract and then going into the third. So I hope it's more what you're suggesting there, Kinner, and they've seen good stuff out of him, and they think he can play a pivotal role in this offense. I'm also not, naive, and the Bengals are going to try to save money where they can here, and that doesn't mean cutting your third round pick from 2 years ago. So I think they're at the very least willing to gamble, and if he makes that gamble pay off, that would be absolutely phenomenal. I still firmly believe that he can be a solid wide receiver 2 in the NFL, and obviously that's not something we're going to ask him to do in Cincinnati with T and Jamar, so he can thrive in this offense, especially with how much we want to throw the ball and how dominant he is on the outside. I think he can be perfect if he locks in and figures it out. So I'm hoping for it. I think a lot of Bengals fans are hoping for it. Even those of us that might not be the biggest Jermaine Burton fans know how big his breakout would be for the Bengals. So we're all rooting for it at least some way.
Listen, I'll say this. Though I am not the biggest fan in the world, I will say he's not the first athlete to come up and not know how to deal with fame and money. And he's not going to be the last athlete to not know how to deal with it. Based on every report that I've seen, he's been with the team. He's been with players. I think he was at Kings Island with them. They went to Kings Island. I think they like him. They want him to succeed. I think he's done a good job this offseason. Maybe it was growing pains. It can't happen again. I mean, we can't have what happened last year happen again. But if he grows, I'm not one to write off his career.
Right.
And there is 100% a role with somebody with that level of explosiveness and talent to work in this offense. No disrespect to Andre Yoshivas, but if Jermaine Burton is on like 50% when he's out there, he's better than Andre Yoshivas. Yeah. And I think that is a weapon for the Bengals to utilize. I hope it works out. I don't know if it will, but I hope it does. I'm not rooting against Jermaine Burton.
I think something that's very notable about those off-season pictures that you've said, where he's going to these, events, these optional events, maybe not optional for him, maybe they're pushing him to, take part in this stuff, but he skipped mandatory events last year. So the fact that he's going to this stuff and taking part in, community outreach and everything does seem like a step in the right direction. But the main thing I've noticed about all of the out-of-facility pictures and things about Jermaine Burton, and maybe not all of them, but certainly the vast majority, he is with Jamar or T.
Yeah.
All the time at everything. And if they're going to be comfortable taking him under their wing and kind of teaching him how to be a professional and get into this offense and learn it the way the two of them had and be able to have as much success as they had, maybe that's something that gets him on the right track as well. Maybe he wouldn't do it on his own, but with Jamar and T pushing him in the right direction, which it seems like they are, maybe it can help this team. So it seems like a pretty big change from Jamar Chase in the press conference last year where we heard him say it's not my problem about Jermaine Burton missing practice. Seems like he's taking a real leadership role this offseason, which is something I'm very, very excited to see.
Yeah, because I've never agreed and disagreed with someone so much when Jamar said that last year, because it's not his responsibility. It's not his job. You're a pro, like Jermaine, like you. That sucks that
he's right.
That sucks that you put them in that position where they're getting questions and being looked at as, okay, what are you going to do about this? What do you mean, what am I going to? I'm over here putting up a Triple Crown season trying to help our team win games because our defense stinks, and now I have to be a babysitter. So I agreed with his answer. I didn't like the answer, if that makes sense. But
I'm with you.
It does seem like that's the case, and that would be huge for them again, because that also changes how you use Gesicki as well at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Here's why I really want Jermaine Burton to work out, because it would be so cool to talk about Zach Taylor figuring out how to fix a problem wide receiver's attitude, or fix a wide receiver's attitude, and to not cut them, to not trade them away, but to actually teach them how to be a winner and not quit on them like that loser Mike Tomlin over in Pittsburgh does.
There it is.
I'm just saying, like Zach Taylor, if anyone can figure it out, it's Zach Taylor, because we know how Mike Tomlin would have handled this.
Right,
He would have just quit. He would just trade him away, cut him. It's what Mike Tomlin does. He quits on his guys.
I will say we all think
Leader of
about the
men.
production. We think about what it would mean for Zach Taylor and the coaching staff. But something I don't think a lot of people think about, because Jermaine Burton is number 81 right now, he wore 3 in college at Alabama and at Georgia. If Jermaine Burton breaks out as our substantial contributor, wide receiver 3 on this team, I would wager that he's going to go back to his college number that he loved very, very much. And, you know, when he gets that right as a veteran in the NFL that's established himself, he switches back to 3. And then the Bengals receiving corps is 5-1-3, which would be so cool.
That would be awesome.
That's it. All right. Very well done. Very well done. I mean, I didn't even think of it. I was trying to figure out where you were going with it. I'm like, huh? What?
5-1-3.
Oh, 5-1-3.
Would be pretty cool.
I mean, you could see the social media graphics now. Next
what
year
I'm saying.
on May 13th.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
They
The
all
graphic
stand
community,
side by
the
side.
graphic community be all over it.
Yeah, their social media interns already earned a raise
It would
before
be
it
awesome,
even happens.
man.
So
he has to break out and he has to be good for probably a year or
Yep.
2, and they'll probably allow him to pick the number. But no one's in it now. Something to keep an eye on at number 3. So we'll see.
Brock Purdy took made the biggest sacrifice that you can imagine for his team. We're going to discuss that on the stream. That does wrap it up for us on radio. Appreciate you guys tuning in. But for those listening on radio, go back and watch the show. And for those still watching right now, give the show a like. Give the live stream a like. We appreciate that. Yeah, Brock Purdy addressed the media after getting paid, and he talked about the sacrifice that he made for the team. I thought this was cute and adorable, and we'll weigh in on this on the stream. That does wrap it up on radio. Until tomorrow, off the bench. All right, and we are back. Brock Purdy signed a contract extension with the Niners last week, $53 million a season. A lot of debate about, I think we talked about this yesterday, the most overpaid quarterbacks in the NFL. Brock Purdy comes in at 53. But Brock Purdy took less money and didn't break the all-time record because he doesn't need every penny for himself. He says, obviously, I want to get what I deserve, but also surround myself with guys around me, not just try to take every penny for myself. The quote from the press conference.
Brave.
Shout out to
with
Brock,
him.
man.
Courageous.
Really diving on that sword for the team.
I mean, now,
How many million?
I mean, think of the backup punters you can get with the money that they saved with Brock Purdy's 53 instead of 55 a year contract. So
that's true.
There you go.
They don't
not
have
all
anyone
heroes
else
wear
that they're
capes.
paying either.
To be fair, though, to Brock Purdy, he lasted longer on that $900,000 contract than probably anybody else would have. So,
woe is me. I'm making $900,000 to play football for a living.
relatively, though, yeah.
Yeah, cost of living in San Fran.
It's a lot.
Brutal.
It's a lot.
Need a roommate.
And you're not even factoring in the gifts he has to give his offensive line, who all make like quadruple his salary.
That's true.
Let me ask you that.
And the shovel for the sidewalks to clean them off.
We just deal with that stuff. Like we just those rookies deal with that. Isn't that the most messed up thing ever?
What?
Everyone preaches the importance of being smart with your money as a professional athlete and all this.
Here's
but then
$100,000 dinner
it's the
tab.
professional athletes that screw you over with these little hazing things that they do. I mean, obviously, if they were problems, it's their problem to deal with. But it doesn't seem like anyone has a major problem with it. But it is pretty wild, the stuff that they do as far as the money is concerned.
What's your favorite rookie prank?
I
got two that come to mind.
I think
because it's not the money. The posting the receipts and stuff is funny, but I feel like that's
you don't think it's making them pay for the meal?
Maybe. Terry Arnold posted one in Detroit where the DBs went out and it was like $80,000 or something.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny.
That's insane.
I always remember the Tebow haircut. when he was in Denver and they had him do the halo haircut with the bald on top. Thought that was really funny. I like when they make the players carry the pads, the full, shoulder pads all the way up to their neck, and then when they fill the car with popcorn. Is always my favorite.
That's a good one.
Always my favorite.
That's a really good one.
LeBron filled Bronny's car with popcorn.
I did see that.
When he got to the Lakers.
I did see that.
Then they just, demolished the car and got him a new one.
Probably true.
Taught him a lesson, My favorite prank when Shador got called, I know that's not the same thing. But that's still my favorite one because everyone reacted. I thought we were going to have a funeral service because Shador got pranked on draft day. I mean, that was pathetic. That's not tied into this necessarily, but I typed in NFL rookie pranks, and the first one that pops up is Shador getting prank called, and I'm like, well, he had it coming. So.
Of course he did.
Which is worse, though, the prank call or the real call if you're a Cleveland Brown? Which is the worst call?
Good question.
I don't know.
No offense. No offense.
No disrespect.
No disrespect.
At least Deion's never said anything about having his son play quarterback for Cleveland.
Look, I'm adamant. Deion's the Browns' next coach.
100%.
He's the Browns' next coach. It's not going to go well this season. And then when you look at Myles Garrett, he throws his temper tantrum again after this upcoming season. Don't worry, primetime's coming. Deion's coming. And then everything will be all right. And players will buy into it. And yeah. When does Deion's act run out? Because I think he's going to be pretty good at leaving Colorado before, because they're not going to. How do you think they'll do this season, Colorado? The reason I ask is because he's very good at escape. He leaves at the right time everywhere he goes, to where he has Colorado right now at a point where they just need to be 500, and he's a savior over there.
It's crazy to. I think Colorado's pretty significally better this year. Without
minus Shador and Travis Hunter.
They got Caden Slater, the quarterback from Liberty, who was top 10 Heisman finalist. Liberty was the favorite Group of 5 team to make the playoff going into last year. He played great. They lost a game they shouldn't have, and he transferred to Colorado this year. And then they got Julian Lewis, who was the number 1 quarterback in last year's class. Not to mention they had the number 1 tackle in 2 years ago's class, who Jordan Seaton, who just didn't really play well last year, was another year under his belt. I think Colorado's going to be pretty significantly better next year than they were with Travis or Shador. I mean, they lost the Alamo Bowl. What's the bar?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think that Deion's bit, or whatever you want to call him, his shtick or his personality, whatever you want to call it, I think it's regardless of win-loss, it has he has value,
insane value. That's why they extended it.
You still want Deion Sanders to be your coach despite wins and losses, because keep in mind he's not at Alabama or Ohio State. He's at Colorado.
Which is why he would never work
Correct.
at an Alabama or an Ohio State or a Florida State.
Because I don't think it's about wins or losses at Colorado. It's about having people look at your football program for quite literally the very first time. And he's done that. He's accomplished that.
We got College Game Day in Boulder.
Yeah,
what?
They don't win, but I don't think they need to. I don't think that's why they brought him in.
Correct.
They brought him in to make them relevant, and they are more relevant now than they've ever been in their entire program's history.
I don't think the question is necessarily when, if Deion leaves Colorado to coach in the NFL. I think it's when. And I'm more concerned not with what Deion does after that, but where does Colorado go? What has he built foundationally there to a point where how interesting is that job?
It's not interesting at all.
I think it's dependent on how long he's there.
I think if he's gone within the next 3 years, he's for that university, he's really accomplished nothing. I mean, somebody's going to come in and Colorado is going to go back to being the worst college football program ever.
Yeah, and I think that is probably a fair assumption.
I mean,
they're recruiting pretty well.
I mean, look at UC. I don't want to compare it, but I mean, Fickell did a fantastic job at making UC nationally relevant in football, and now you look at UC football, and despite being able to recruit and seemingly dominate the portal or do a decent job in the portal, it's still UC football's taken multiple steps backwards. The program itself, I think, is better. They've got that new cool indoor facility. As a whole, the University of Cincinnati is more respected, but that football program still hasn't. It doesn't stay the same if you're not Alabama or Ohio State. You don't get to keep that.
I will say 3 years in a row now, assuming this cycle ends and they're relatively close to where they are now in 2026, it'll be a top 25 recruiting class.
Yeah.
Which is usually the bar that they say 3 straight top 25 recruiting classes gives you a chance to be a top 25 program. So maybe he is on the way to building some kind of foundation, but I think the question you have to ask then is, does that just immediately go with him? Probably.
Yeah.
Unless he leaves coaches behind. I think that could be the thing that saves Colorado.
Like a Warren Sapp
Exactly.
or one of those guys.
Or some, not even one of the veterans like that, one of the NFL veterans, but a guy that is his OC for the last 2 or 3 years of Dion, where they have an elite offense. And then you step out and he takes over as head coach. As long as there's some continuity between those two staffs, then I think you could have some success. I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch play out over the next few years.
All right, you guys have box lunch coming up?
Box lunch.
We're going to be a box lunch today.
So you have a couple things that you
Everett
have
asked
to
a
knock out.
great question in the chat.
What?
Don't ask that question.
Well, I think I'm going to ask the question.
Don't ask it.
I think I'm going to ask. Which is a better job, Colorado or UC?
Damn.
Football.
Yeah. Which is a better football job?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's certainly, I don't know.
One school has provided
UC
untapped
basketball is
NIL
a better
potential.
job than Colorado basketball. That's all I know.
How many top 10 picks does UC basketball have in the last 3 years?
Nah.
I'm going to say, this isn't a shot at UC. I'm going to say, because we asked earlier in the week is UC a football or basketball school, and the fact that we think it's basketball.
I know it's basketball. Then
Colorado has to be the better job. And that's not like a shot. Like, if Colorado right now, because Deion's there,
anyway. I don't think it's. I don't.
Every resource is being invested into that football program.
We're splitting
right
poop and crap here. These are two terrible.
I was
jobs.
trying to be a little bit,
See how disrespectful he is. You see how disrespectful and hurtful he is when he starts talking about the UC football program.
You might as well make fun of his smirk and throw a helmet at him.
They try their hardest.
They don't though. That's the thing. Is they don't at all.
Well,
just tomorrow we're doing Dynasty versus Parody. And
yes, the chat wants it really bad.
And we're not letting you go away from it.
The chat wants it really bad.
You're not allowed to push this to next week.
Everett asked me all day, are we getting Dynasty versus Parody? And honestly, for the first 2 segments, I told him yes. I was optimistic.
I've shared this story before. Like, people like, oh, you never get to everything that you say in your rundown. I've been taught, even from the mothership, that that's actually the right way to go about it. So I've told you before, like First Take and Get Up and those shows, when I've been and sat in on those shows before over at their studio in New York, they'll have, so for a 2-hour show, you have 6 segments, just like we do. And for 6 segments, they will have 10 topics at hand. And if you get through all 10 topics, that means you had a bad show, because you should be able to carry on these topics, like listenership and viewership and interaction should all show you whether or not those topics are hitting or not. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, but yes, we will get to that tomorrow because it's Friday and we really don't have anything else to talk about. The Reds are off today. So unless we want to discuss Terry Francona and the Reds again.
I think this chat's heard enough of my Reds ranting for the week.
Fair enough. We just have our Reds predictions tomorrow.
We do have Reds predictions tomorrow.
Mike Ackley does make a great point in the chat. Dion did want to coach at UC, so that probably makes them a better job.
I don't like that joke. Never liked it. Never once liked it.
It's my
By the
favorite
way,
joke.
shout out, this healthcare provider's called me now 3 times in the last 2 minutes. Should we put him on air?
I think that's illegal.
It's just a recording.
Yeah.
Oh, I
probably
thought you
is.
answered it.
I hung up.
Oh, well, fair enough. All right.
Congratulations. Hopefully you get your health care covered.
I doubt it.
All right, that wraps it up. They have box lunch coming up. We'll be back again at it tomorrow. We might even just lead off with Dynasty versus Parody tomorrow.
We should lead it off.
Dynasty versus Parody, BS segment, then headlines. Vince will be pissed.
Vince won't ever come back.
Shout out to Vince. Shout out to all the Vinces.
Today's show is dedicated towards Vince.
Yep.
That's right.
All right, that wraps it up. Until tomorrow, there's been Off the Bench. Oh, yeah, I mean, the white hat. By the way,
we got the same bad hair
today. No curly hair today. So, you know. All right, deuces. Adios. Happy Thursday.
Love you, Vince.